The galaxy had always been a place of order and hierarchy. Every star system had its ruler, every world its customs, and every alien civilization its unspoken rules. But on the planet Ilithia, where the royal Xyrillian family reigned for over 3 millennia, the rules were strict, absolute, and entirely unbending. That was, until a human named Marcus Weaver stepped onto the royal grounds and dared to defy the most sacred of traditions. Marcus had never intended to cause an interstellar scandal. He had come to Ilithia on a diplomatic mission, an ambassador of Earth sent to strengthen interplanetary alliances. He knew the risks, knew that the Xyrillian hierarchy was legendary for its rigidity, but he could never have predicted that his heart would get involved in a way no treaty could have prepared him for. He first saw Princess Lyra during a reception held in the Sky Palace of the Xyrillians, a magnificent structure suspended over the silver lakes of Ilithia, its towers carved from crystalline metals that glowed faintly under the twin moons. Lyra moved with grace that seemed to bend the very air around her, her blue-tinged skin shimmering like starlight. She was beautiful in a way that humans had never conceived, regal, otherworldly, yet astonishingly approachable. Their first conversation had been brief. Marcus had spoken haltingly in the universal translator, carefully navigating cultural formalities, while Lyra had smiled with that rare combination of amusement and curiosity that immediately disarmed him. He found himself laughing at jokes he barely understood and listening intently to tales of cosmic wars and galactic diplomacy. It was a spark, subtle at first, then undeniable. As weeks turned into months, Marcus and Lyra spent more time together under the pretense of diplomatic duties. They explored floating gardens suspended above the palace city, practiced combat drills in holographic arenas, and shared philosophical debates under the light of Ilithia's twin moons. Yet, every shared smile, every lingering glance, brought with it a dangerous tension. The Queen, Queen Celera, Lyra's mother, ruled with both elegance and iron. She had brought stability to the Xyrillian Empire after decades of internal strife and was renowned for her ability to anticipate threats before they even materialized. And now, she was watching Marcus with all the scrutiny of a predator observing prey. A human? For her daughter? Solara's cool blue eyes had met his only once, during a ceremonial reception, but the frozen expression she wore had told him everything. He was playing a dangerous game. The turning point came during the Festival of Luminaries, an annual event where all noble families of the sector showcased their allegiance and wealth. Marcus had been invited, though technically, humans were observers at best. He had dressed in ceremonial garb adapted to Xyrillian norms, flowing robes of silver and violet, etched with symbolic patterns meant to signify respect. Yet no robe, no matter how ornate, could hide the pounding of his heart as he approached Lyra in the palace gardens. "You look radiant tonight," he said, his voice unusually soft. Lyra tilted her head, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "You humans always say that. But perhaps it is true tonight." The garden was bathed in the glow of bioluminescent flora, and Marcus felt compelled by a force stronger than etiquette, stronger than diplomacy. He took Lyra's hand. "Lyra, there's something I need to say. Something no treaty, no alliance, no protocol can ever convey. I wish to marry you." The words hung in the air. Lyra froze, the light catching her hair like a halo. The music of the festival seemed to dim, the chatter of nobles fading into a soft silence. And then, from the shadows of the palace balcony, a gasp, sharp, cutting, impossible to ignore. The Queen had arrived. Her expression was frozen, as if time itself had stilled around her. Her hands gripped the railings so tightly that the knuckles turned pale. Marcus felt the weight of 1,000 years of Xyrillian tradition pressing down on him. To declare marriage openly to the princess without the queen's consent was unheard of. It was audacious. It was reckless. Lyra's eyes, however, were on Marcus, searching his face, reading the sincerity in his trembling lips, the truth in his gaze. "Marcus," she whispered, almost inaudibly. "I mean it, Lyra," he continued, ignoring the gasps of the surrounding nobles. "I don't care about protocol, about politics, about the centuries of expectation. I love you. I choose you. I want to marry you." For a moment, the world seemed suspended. Queen Solara's frozen expression did not move, did not falter. Marcus feared he had committed a fatal mistake, that centuries of Xyrillian pride and decorum would crush him for his boldness. But then Lyra stepped forward, placing her hand on her mother's arm. "Mother," Lyra said, her voice calm but resolute. "I choose him. I choose Marcus." The queen's eyes widened, a flicker of incredulity passing over her features. The court held its collective breath. For the first time in her life, Solara found herself unable to respond immediately. Her daughter, her heir, was asserting a choice that defied every tradition she had ever upheld. Marcus knelt instinctively, taking both of Lyra's hands into his own. "I will honor you, protect you, and love you for the rest of my life. Not as a human diplomat, not as a visitor, but as your partner, your equal." There was a long silence, then Solara's eyes softened. Not completely, not yet, but enough that Marcus dared to hope. Lyra's hand squeezed his. "Mother, you taught me the strength to make my own decisions. I am making one now." The queen's frozen demeanor melted slowly, a controlled but undeniable acknowledgement. She stepped down from the balcony, her voice firm yet tinged with something Marcus couldn't have predicted: pride. "Marcus Weaver, you are a human, a creature foreign to my world, with flaws and limitations I barely understand. Yet you have shown courage, audacity, and sincerity. My daughter has chosen you. You will not be destroyed for your boldness, nor will our lineage be dishonored. But know this, marrying a Xyrillian is not a trivial matter. You will be tested." "I am ready," Marcus said, his voice unwavering. And then, for the first time that night, the queen smiled. A small, enigmatic smile, but a smile nonetheless. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of preparation and scrutiny. Marcus had to learn Xyrillian customs, rituals, and the complex web of noble alliances that influenced every decision of the royal family. Lyra guided him patiently, teaching him how to perform ceremonial dances, how to navigate political discussions, and how to speak the formal language without hesitation. They trained together in the palace's combat arenas as well. Marcus was human, and human strength paled in comparison to a Xyrillian's enhanced abilities, but he had determination, and Lyra had a peculiar fondness for seeing him struggle yet persevere. Each day, their bond deepened, not just in romance, but in mutual respect. Even Queen Solara observed quietly from the sidelines, her piercing eyes studying every interaction. She never interfered, but her approval, though unspoken, grew subtly. Marcus could sense it in the small nods she gave when he performed well, in the way she allowed him to challenge Lyra during strategy games, and in the way her voice softened slightly when addressing him. The climax came during the official marriage ceremony held atop the twin peaks of Ilithia's Crystal Mountains. Nobles from dozens of systems attended, their eyes keen for any misstep. The ceremony began with ancient chants echoing across the crystalline towers, and Marcus felt the weight of history pressed down on him. Lyra stood before him, radiant as ever. "Marcus Weaver," she intoned, "do you take me, Lyra Xyrillian, to be your partner, your equal, and your love, across all galaxies, through every trial, and beyond the reach of time?" "I do," Marcus replied, his voice steady, carrying across the mountaintop. "And do you, Lyra Xyrillian, accept Marcus Weaver, a human, to stand beside you as your partner through the trials of our worlds and the challenges of our people?" "I do," she said, her voice unwavering. Queen Celera stepped forward, placing her hand atop theirs. "By the authority of the Xyrillian line, and by the grace of the stars that have guided us for centuries, I hereby acknowledge this union." There was a moment of silence, and then, across the valleys and crystal peaks, the twin moons of Ilithia shone brighter than ever. The galaxies seemed to pause, acknowledging an unprecedented event. A human had declared marriage to an alien princess, and the queen, once frozen in disbelief, had given her blessing. The celebration that followed was unlike any Ilithian festival before. Music that echoed through the cosmos mingled with the laughter of humans and aliens alike. Marcus danced with Lyra beneath the bioluminescent lights of the palace gardens, their hands entwined, their hearts beating in sync. Even Queen Celera watched from above, her expression still composed, yet her eyes softened with a mixture of pride and wonder. She had feared rebellion, humiliation, and chaos, but instead, she found unity and a love that transcended worlds. Marcus knew the path ahead would not be simple. He would have to navigate the complexities of interstellar diplomacy, cultural expectations, and the inevitable challenges that arose when two species joined in matrimony. But as he held Lyra close, listening to the gentle hum of Ilithia's twin moons, he felt something stronger than fear or uncertainty: hope. For the first time in centuries, a human and a Xyrillian princess had chosen each other freely, against all odds, and the galaxy would never forget it. And in that moment, even the queen could not deny the truth. Love, audacious and bold, could conquer even the strictest of cosmic laws. The celebration on the Crystal Mountains continued for days, with dignitaries from across the galaxy witnessing what many called an unprecedented union. A human and a Xyrillian princess officially joined in matrimony. Yet, the true turning point came after the festivities, in the quiet moments when the public eye had moved on, and the palace was bathed only in the soft luminescence of Ilithia's twin moons. Marcus and Lyra walked hand in hand along the floating garden terraces, the city lights sparkling below like scattered stars. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes a mixture of mischief and tenderness. "Do you realize what you've done?" she asked softly. "The galaxy will never let us live this quietly." Marcus chuckled, but it was a soft, contented sound. "I do. But I also realize that no empire, no custom, no law is stronger than what I feel for you." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder, the gentle hum of the garden's bioluminescent flora surrounding them. "I know, Marcus. And perhaps that is the point. Love is the true rebellion." Meanwhile, Queen Celera had retreated to her private chambers, where she reflected on the audacity and sincerity of the human who had dared to stand before her and declare love for her daughter. For hours, she remained silent, reviewing centuries of tradition, political alliances, and the pride of her lineage. Yet in that silence, something shifted. She saw Marcus not as a human intruder, but as a man of courage, integrity, and unwavering devotion. The next morning, she summoned him to the private audience chamber, a rare honor for a human, even one married into the royal family. Marcus entered cautiously, aware that one misstep could undo everything he had fought for. "Marcus Weaver," the queen began, her voice calm but commanding, "I watched you stand before me yesterday unflinching, declaring what many would never dare. I've spent centuries safeguarding my daughter, our people, and our traditions. And yet, she paused, a rare softness in her gaze. I see now that courage and love are forces even the most meticulous laws cannot contain. Marcus bowed deeply.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
I promise to honor Lyra, to protect her, and to respect your people and traditions as if they were my own. Solara's lips curved into a subtle smile, a full acknowledgement of trust. Then you shall have it, Marcus. The path ahead will not be simple. Politics, diplomacy, and the prejudices of both humans and Xyrillians will test you. But your bond with Lyra, that bond is a force the galaxy must respect. Welcome to our family, officially and irrevocably. From that day forward, Marcus was no longer merely an ambassador or a human visitor. He became a partner in governance, a diplomat among species, and a bridge between worlds. Together with Lyra, he implemented programs to foster unity between humans and Xyrillians, encouraging cultural exchange, trade, and understanding. The once frozen Queen Solara became a mentor to Marcus, guiding him through the intricacies of Xyrillian court life. She watched with pride as he stood beside her daughter, not just as a husband, but as a strategist, a thinker, and a symbol of hope for a galaxy divided by suspicion and ancient grudges. Years passed, and the human-alien union that had once shocked the Empire became a story of legend. Children of both species grew up learning of Marcus and Lyra's courage, their tale told not as rebellion, but as inspiration. That love, sincerity, and audacity could bridge even the deepest divides. On quiet nights, Marcus and Lyra would walk together beneath Ilithia's twin moons, hand in hand, reflecting on the moment that had changed everything, the moment he had dared to speak, the moment she had chosen, and the moment the Queen, once frozen, had finally embraced the impossible. The galaxy had witnessed a historic declaration, but more importantly, it had witnessed a transformation that even in a universe ruled by law, order, and ancient tradition, the heart could carve a path where reason alone feared to tread. And as Marcus looked at Lyra, and she looked back, the Queen's final words echoed in his mind. Courage and love are forces even the stars cannot deny. In the end, it was not a human who conquered a Xyrillian empire, nor a princess who defied her mother. It was a love so true, so fearless, that it reshaped the galaxy itself. The palace that once symbolized hierarchy and restraint now resonated with laughter, joy, and the promise of a future where differences were celebrated and hearts were given freely. Marcus had chosen, Lyra had chosen, and together they had changed everything. And in that choice, the Queen had finally thawed, not just in acceptance, but in understanding that some bonds transcend species, laws, and millennia because they are written not in rules, but in the stars themselves.